Today on Reese Dixon, we are making this adorable outdoor ghost family. Hi everybody, it's Teresa with ReeseDixon.com. I am in my backyard today because we're gonna do a little more woodworking to create a adorable little Halloween front yard sign. So what I've got here is a great big piece of plywood left over from another one of my projects. And all I've done so far is sketch my little ghost family on here. Now, don't be intimidated because I have barely any drawing talent. I just went online and Googled some clip art and then kind of redrew it. And the nice thing about ghosts is they're just blobs. So you don't really have to do too much. If you screw up on the arms like I did, you can just make ghosts with no arms and people will get the idea. But this is the version that I drew up. Let's see if you can see. I totally botched this arm. So these markings will make no sense to anyone but me. But you want to make sure that when you draw it, you'll have a final line that you'll really be able to tell is where you want to cut. You know, I traced mine in Sharpie so you could kind of get an idea. I recommend you just using pencil if it doesn't have to show up on camera, because this is going to make painting just a little bit trickier. But I do it for you guys because I love you. So now that I've got this sketched out, I'm going to take a jigsaw and I'm going to cut just the very most outside line. See, some of these lines, like my little kid ghost, I'm not even going to touch because they're on the inside of this image. So I just want to cut the outermost portion, and I'm going to leave everything else one solid piece that we're just going to paint to differentiate. So let me wrestle with this thing, fire up my jigsaw, and cut this bad boy out. Got my little ghosts all cut out, and there's one thing I wanted to tell you about working with a jigsaw. The blade can snap fairly easily, so when you're cutting something like this out, say at this point right here, you can't just like turn. So you have to kind of come in here and then stop, and then come in here and then stop. And it'll probably be that way for like under the arms and that kind of thing too. You just want to kind of plan your route out a little bit so that you don't try and turn any corners and break that blade, which could be pretty dangerous. So now that this is all cut out, I'm going to give it a little sanding and start to paint it. I don't think I'm going to show you a lot of that process because it's just spray paint, really. This is what I'm going to use. And if you are a decorative painter or a tool painter, something like that, you can just let your skills go crazy and paint anything you want to. But before I get away from the woodworking, there's one other piece that you're going to need, and that's some kind of a stand. So I have this left over from my big sectional project. So I'm going to use this to be my stand. I don't even have to cut it, but you'll want to make sure that you've got something ready before you put your saws away. And this is just going to be a little kickstand like so. So I'm going to go sand and paint, and then I'll show you how to make this thing stand up against the weather. So here's my little ghost family all done, and I think it's really cute. But look at how simple it is. See, nobody has hands, you know, it's just little blobs. So all I did was I spray painted this whole thing white, and then just with Sharpie, I put my lines back on. And then, you know, the faces, of course, but just to give it a tiny bit of dimension, I just took a dark gray and sponge painted along the outside and just on the inside of the ghost shapes, just to make it look a little less flat. But that's so simple. I'm not exactly a professional painter, so you could totally do this. Okay, so now the only thing left is to install the hardware to make it so that it can stand up. And we're gonna do that fast because it is starting to rain out here. So, I've got my little stick thing. This is gonna be the kickstand onto my ghosts. So I'll need to install a hinge, and that just has screws that come with it. I'm just going to use my little cordless drill here, screw one side into the back and the other side into the kickstand. And then you have to have some way to kind of regulate how far that hinge goes, because it could open all the way and then the kickstand's not doing anybody any good. So I have these little hooks that screw in, and again I'll put one in the kickstand and one in the back of the ghost. And then I have some chain here that will go between these two hooks so that it can keep the kickstand just far enough out to prop it and not so far enough that it just falls over. So let's get to installing all this hardware. It is starting to rain in earnest, so we're gonna take this out front and put it up and run back inside where it's nice and dry. But I wanted to make sure that you could see how this chain attaches. So one cup hook in the back and the other into the kickstand, and just enough chain in between so that when it's out on the front yard it can kind of span that and keep it in place. So I'm gonna cut off all this extra chain, and I did need to confess to one blunder. The screws I was using on the hinge were too long for this little piece of plywood. So rookie mistake, I should have known better, but I did it anyway, so it happens to the best of us. So you just want to make sure that you don't do that, and I'm going to kind of patch up my little holes here before I set this outside, and we'll go see how adorable it looks in my front yard. It is totally pouring. I tried to show this to Atticus because he loves ghosts. I thought I would make him so happy, and all he could do was yell at me for bringing him outside in the rain. So I'm going inside now because he had the right idea. So I hope that this was inspiring to you. Even if you're not a drawer or a painter, this project is totally doable. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comment box below and I will help you out. Be sure and subscribe so you can see all the rest of my big Halloween ideas, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.